You hear this a lot in innovation classes, entrepreneurship classes, sometimes depending on who's teaching it. You may also hear it in marketing classes. The inventor is the person who makes the widget, and the innovator is the person who knows how to market and sell the widget. And the innovator also has the ability to kind of see that gap, see that opportunity in the market, whereas the inventor doesn't necessarily know what to do with the widget. The inventor can make the widget, and it could be a really awesome widget, don't get me wrong, but the inventor doesn't necessarily know what its perfect use might be, what its actual potential for use might be. Obviously, the inventor is inventing something with some type of use in mind, and of course it varies and it depends, but sometimes the inventor can't necessarily see where their invention can completely really go. So there are a couple of really classic examples of this. There's actually lots of examples of this, and I'll just kind of go over some of that. Everybody knows about Mercedes-Benz, but not everyone knows kind of the history behind the company. I'm not necessarily talking about the history behind the brand and where the name Mercedes came from. I'm talking about going back 30 years prior to that, the actual history and the origins of the company itself. So I'm really talking about Karl and Bertha Benz. Not everybody necessarily knows what Karl's wife Bertha really brought to the table. Bertha Benz, it's my opinion, if it wasn't for Bertha Benz, the company may not have ever even been able to happen in the first place. Mercedes-Benz may have been a company, a brand that almost never happened. So Karl Benz was, of course, the wonderful, brilliant engineer, and he received a patent for that. But a lot of people don't really kind of know what the whole story is all about. Karl Benz was a brilliant engineer, and he really was a little bit of that kind of mad scientist that really is most comfortable in a lab setting. And he kept on tinkering and tinkering and tinkering after he introduced his invention the first time, after January 1886 to the public. Kind of really didn't work the way it was supposed to work, had some bugs, had some flaws, so he kept going back and back to the laboratory. It was Bertha Benz 2 years later in 1888 who made that famous drive that some people know about. On that famous journey in 1888 was just as important, if not more important, than the patent that happened in 1886. Bertha Benz was really kind of that PR person. She was the natural-born public relations person, the natural-born marketer that really understood how to show this to people and to show its value and to show its promise. Now, another one that everyone kind of knows about is, of course, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. Of course, Steve Wozniak, it was the person who knew how to create the computer, and Steve Jobs didn't really know anything about that stuff, didn't know how to program, but really was that person who understood what the potential behind a PC for the home really was all about and where this thing could possibly go. Steve Wozniak then and now, by the way, didn't really and doesn't still have that skill set. He really doesn't. And I say this respectfully. Jobs was, of course, the innovator. Wozniak was the inventor. And there's one other thing that I wanted to say. Sometimes it's really, really rare, but most of the time, these two inventor and innovator type personalities really are separate people. And I'm sorry, I can't give you a perfect reason for that. That's just the way the world is built. For those of you who've known me for a while, I kind of, come from sort of this more natural, plain English kind of way of explaining things. I don't have this great, wonderful psychological theory for you or anything like that. It's just the way the world is put together. So most people are either the inventor or the innovator. Now and again, though, it does, and it's rare. At least in my opinion, I think that one of those rarities in the world happens to be Bill Gates. Bill Gates really did know, I'm assuming he still does, but he doesn't do it anymore. He really did know how to program. He did understand the technical side of software, of computers, and he also understood the business side. Sometimes people think Bill Gates was this kind of, nerdy sort of guy that was a total pushover and all that kind of stuff. For a long, long time, Bill Gates was the richest person in the world, as you probably know. So you don't become the richest person in the world and hold that title for years and years by being, some sort of, pushover or anything like that. Bill Gates in his business life was ruthless. Bill Gates understood innovation, he understood business, he understood the potential as well as Steve Jobs did. I really do think that Bill Gates kind of fits that rare mold where one person can be both of these things, but it really is rare. It's really hard to find that really in any individual. So now you know the difference between inventor and innovator, or invention and innovation, in a real easy way. Let me know if you have any questions or if you have any comments for me, and I hope this made a lot of sense for you.